What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. This is my part 3 of my part 32 series of doing a free agency simulation in a 3-round mock draft for each NFL team. I've already done some of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions, and this video will be of the Houston Texans, who picked 3rd overall in the NFL draft this upcoming April. So let's go ahead and get into the simulation. For this free agency simulation, I use fanspeed.com, and for the mock draft simulation, I use ProFootballNetwork.com. So we'll go ahead and get started here. The Texans are in a very difficult situation in this offseason. They're bringing a new head coach in Lovie Smith. You have no idea what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. You know, if he's even going to be eligible to play, if he's going to be with the Texans. If they trade him, how much will they get? If they trade him, will they get a future starting quarterback for them? Laramie Tunsil, there's been some rumors that he could possibly be dealt in some trades. So when you look at some of these, players here listed that they could cut and save money, a couple of these guys have already been traded or released because this was the cap hit and this was the roster heading into the 2021 season. For instance, like Randall Cobb was not on this team. Let's see here. I know Ryan Finley, he was also not a part of this team. He got cut a long time ago. And, Bradley Roby was also, traded as well. So looking at this team here, and, Ryan Finley, we're able to cut him. We saved just a tad bit of money here. And then we also have, let's see here, Bradley Roby. There's one other person I think I'd say, I think could kind of help save the Texans some money. And that is offense tackle Marcus Cannon. And I know they just recently got him in the past year or so, but he's getting up there in age. He's over 30. And he's coming off back surgery. It would save them a decent amount of money if he were to be cut. So I'm going to cut him. That's going to save the Texans a little bit of money. I know there's some other players who might not necessarily be on the team right here, like Randall Cobb, but I'm not going to do that because that will mess up like their cap situation here. So as we head into the thing, when you're able to re-sign some Texans players, re-sign your own guys, the Texans have, let's see here, $31 million in cap space. Isn't bad. I'd say it's probably about average or so. A couple players really stand out to me that I really think Houston has to re-sign. One is quarterback Tyrod Taylor, and the other one is safety Justin Reed. I feel like both of those guys could be big pieces to the Texans. Tyrod Taylor, he just has such bad luck starting. It seems like he gets hurt all the time. But Davis Mills, don't let people fool you. Davis Mills was the most impressive rookie quarterback this past season. And it's so funny because heading into the year, everybody thought, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the best rookie quarterback this past year in 2021 class when he wasn't even the best rookie quarterback in his own division. I think it's kind of funny, just in my opinion. We're going to try to sign Tyrod Taylor for 4.5. I know that might be a little high for a guy who probably won't start, but backup quarterbacks are hard to sign. They ask for a decent amount of money because it's not fun playing backup quarterback, being in practice every single day and you're not, starting and things like that. Backup quarterbacks are hard to come by, So we're also going to try to sign Justin Reed here. Justin Reed, I would say probably around 6-7 range. We'll try 6.5 here. I think he's a very important piece of this Houston defense for years to come. He's a young player who I think could be very, very good for many years in Houston. So we're able to sign him for, I believe it was 6.5. So we sign. We're able to re-sign Justin Reed. I believe we're able also to re-sign Tyrod Taylor. Just working pretty well so far. We are down to $22 million in cap space. And the interesting thing about the Houston Texans, they have lots of needs. You can debate quarterback. I don't think it's a major need. I don't think it would be a bad idea if Houston maybe got one in like the mid-round of the draft. But I don't think signing an outside guy would be a good idea for Houston. They could really use some offensive line. They can use some more help. But, running backs, wide receiver, because you look at running backs, they've had some nice running backs. But some of these guys they've signed the past year or two are just kind of like one-year contracts and stuff like that. They've signed some nice wide receivers the past couple of years, but some of them are one-year contracts. So they're already off the team, like Randall Cobb. He's been traded to Green Bay. Alex Erickson, I believe he was a one-year contract as well, formerly from Cincinnati. And their defense could really use some help. And Lovie Smith, it was a very interesting hire, kind of more of a defensive-minded coach. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of go defense-heavy in this offseason. So some guys here I like, Kyle Fuller. Let's see here. Charles Harris, the edge rusher from the Lions, who had more sacks this past season than he did all 4 years in the previous 4 years he played. Larry Ogunjobi, defense tackle, and B.J. Hill, defense tackle for Cincinnati. I really feel like they can, they need some upgrades in the defensive line, or actually try B.J. Hill here. I know the Bengals, in my opinion, I think they're going to be very, very important. I think the Bengals are really going to try to sign B.J. Hill in this offseason, but I wouldn't be surprised if B.J. Hill would have multiple teams interested in him, because he was really, really good this year for Cincinnati, which are 5 years, 2 years, $5 million per season, 80% guaranteed. And the guaranteed money is very interesting, because when you're a team who is kind of like the Houston Texans, who don't really have many star players, don't really have that good of a team, and don't really have a great team overall, it's kind of hard to get some of these guys to sign with your team. So at times you might have to overpay them. And something else, when you look at a young team like the Houston Texans, I think it's very, very, very important for some of these teams to sign some of these older guys who've been around the league for quite some time, to kind of help mentor some of these younger guys, and also be a part of their rebuild process. I know for older guys that might not be fun to do, being a part of a rebuild process, but they, in that case, they might get more playing time, a team who's not really good compared to a really good team like the Chiefs or something like that. So we offer B.J. Hill 2 years for $5 million. Let's see what else we can do. I really, really, really like Quentin Spain. I think he's one of the most underrated guards in the NFL. Like I said, the Texans need offensive line help. I'm going to offer Quentin Spain. Let's see here. We'll offer him 7. I think this is probably about where Spain's price could go. I think anywhere from 7 to 9 or 10. Looking at Spain, he's been very underrated the past year or so with Cincinnati. And, the Texans just need so much offensive line help, whether it's Deshaun Watson, which is probably not going to happen, Davis Mills, Tyrod Taylor, maybe it's even a rookie quarterback. You need to have a good offensive line. And if you get Quentin Spain, if you're able to draft some offensive linemen, and in the draft, I think that could be very helpful for the Houston Texans. I want to go back to defense here for a second. I kind of mentioned that they could really use some help in defense. I'm going to try Kyle Fuller here. We'll try 7.5. Well, let's try 6.5. Because since that Houston doesn't have a ton of cap space here, we'll try 3 seasons, and we will try 90 guarantee. I think that would be. I know the guarantee is high. I think that would be a great contract for Houston. Get one of the better corners out there on the market. Let's also see here with running back. I think he's underrated a little bit. I like Marlon Mack a decent bit. And one of these things that's interesting, there's just so many free agents on the market. And free agents, you can replace them and get just pretty much the same production from a 6th-round pick or something like that at times. But I'm going to try Marlon Mack for $2 million, 1 year and 100% guarantee. So that's $2 million for this year and 1 year only. And it's nothing new to sign kind of 1-year contracts for the Texans, because they've done that the past year or so. And, they're able to trade some of those guys and get basically, something out of nothing for it. So we offered Marlon Mack. We offered Kyler Fuller. We also offered B.J. Hill, Quentin Spain. I kind of want to look at wide receiver. I kind of mentioned that. They do have Brandon Cooks, who I think is very underrated and has put up great production the past couple of years, despite some, quarterbacks who are playing that aren't that great, like Tyrod Taylor. Davis Mills, I do think has potential. I think he's played really, really well this year, but I feel like Brandon Cooks being this good this past season really proves out how underrated he is. Let's see. I kind of want to look at some of these older guys here, like Emmanuel Sanders, Jamison Crowder. I know John Brown. I believe he might be available here. Some of those guys kind of intrigue me. If I'm the Texans, get kind of an older piece who can be a mentor to some of these younger guys. Let's see here. Here's John Brown. Let's try him for 1.5. I know that might be kind of low for John Brown, but I don't believe he even played last year, which kind of shocks me a little bit. So we'll do 1 year with him, and we'll do 90 guarantee. See if he'll take that. And I also kind of like some of these other receivers here. Josh Reynolds comes to mind. Anthony Miller. Deshaun Jackson knows of the age. He'll probably end up retiring. Khalif Raymond, he's a very intriguing one. If the Lions do not end up re-signing him. Cedric Wilson Jr., that's probably my favorite wide receiver. maybe honestly one of my favorite player in free agency. I think he's going to be a great signing for wherever he goes to. So let's kind of see who the Texans ended up signing here so far. I offered several people. Let's see who accepts it. And wow, this is kind of shocking. Honestly, I offered a pretty decent contracts to everybody. I offered Marlon Mack a couple for a 1-year contract, 100% guarantee. He declined it. John Brown accepted a 1-year deal for 1.5. Quentin Span declined my contract. BJ Hill declined it, and Kyle Fuller. And that's what I'm talking about when you look at some of these teams who aren't really good and don't really have that many star players. You have to overpay them. I honestly thought I kind of put that perfect price range for some of those guys, but apparently not. I thought I put the guarantee money somewhat high. Kind of surprised me a little bit. Let's see here. Since Quentin Spain did not, sign with us, we still have to target offensive line. Riley Reef is somebody that comes to mind. He played good for Cincinnati this past season, coming off an injury, but it's not that serious. He missed the final couple of games for Cincinnati. I believe he signed this past season for $5 or $6 million for a 1-year contract. Let's offer him. Let's try 6.5 because it's one of those things. It's like I'm saying, you kind of have to overpay some of these people. We'll try a 1-year contract, 90 guarantee. I think that's a pretty good deal for Reef. Honestly, if anything, I think that might be more of a tad bit of an overpay than an overpay. A tad bit of an overpay than an underpay. Excuse me. And then look at some of these wide receivers here. Cedric Wilson Jr. Screw it. I really want to try. I really want to try to sign him. I feel like every video I've done, I feel like I've mentioned his name at least once or twice. Let's try $6.5 million. I really feel like this is a steal. Whoever signs him. I've seen PFF have him potentially signing for $6 or $7 million. That is a steal. Was $6.5 million for 3 years for Cedric Wilson Jr. That would be amazing signing for the Houston Texans. Him and Brandon Cooks would be a very, very underrated wide receiver duo. So, we also, did not able to sign a corner. We offered Kyle Fuller. I'm going to see if he's still available because I still want to offer him a better contract. We'll try $8 per year. I think the first time I offered him like 6.5, I believe. Try 3 years and 80 guarantee. So, honestly, this free agency has not been really going what I thought it would be for the Houston Texans because nobody is really wanting to sign with us. It's kind of surprising. Some of these other guys here, I also mentioned Charles Harris, the edge rusher from the Lions. He might not be available because I think that's kind of a priority for the Detroit Lions to try to sign him. Honestly, he is available. That kind of shocks me a little bit there. I want to try $5 million for Charles Harris. I think that would be a very nice signing for Houston. A guy who had 7.5 sacks this past year. I think he has potential to have a breakout year wherever he goes this season. We will try $5 million for 3 years, 85% guaranteed. The money per year might be a little bit low, but the guarantee I think is kind of high for him. So I think he might be kind of intrigued by that. Let's see who decides to sign with us now. So for the most part, we were to sign a guy, Cedric Wilson Jr., amazing signing. Like he had the highest catch percentage. He had a better catch percentage in Dallas than Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb this past season. He's averaging 13 yards per reception this past year. And it reminds me of several other signings in the years past, like Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd had a 1,000-yard season. The Bengals signed him for $11 million per year, and now he's probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL and has arguably the best contract for a non-rookie in the NFL, in my opinion. That's it. That's a fantastic signing. Riley Reef declined their offer. This really surprised me that some of these offensive linemen does not want to play for the Houston Texans. We were able to sign Charles Harris, and we were able to sign Kyle Fuller, helping out the defense that they really, really need help with. So let's see how much money we have left. I really don't think we have much. We have $6 million of cap space, which is interesting because when you look at draft picks, you always kind of say probably about $3-4 million for draft picks. In April. Some of these guys, they're not going to have a ton of money, but it kind of adds up when you have like 8 or 9 draft picks and things like that. So we're going to really leave it at this. The Texans would be able to get more money if they would maybe cut some guys as well. Honestly, I've done the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions so far. And this Houston Texans team, and free agency-wise, by signing people, has definitely been the worst, luck for them. They were not able to sign many guys at all. John Brown, Cedric Wilson Jr., Charles Harris, and Kyle Fuller. And since we released Marcus Cannon, I think it is going to be pretty much a guarantee and a must that the Houston Texans will draft the offensive lineman with 3rd overall. And regardless, I think that was probably going to be the case anyway, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get started with this 3-round mock draft from Pro Football Network. .com, and 1st overall went Evan Neal. 2nd overall went Kyle Hamilton. Very kind of surprising pick. Very surprising if you ask me. And you look at this offensive lineman group. Akeem Ikwanu. I think that's how you say it. The offensive tackle from NC State. I know he's ranked 20th on their big board. I don't understand that because there's been talks that he could go top 3 and possibly even jump Evan Neal as the top-rated tackle in the 2022 draft. We're going to go with him here. I think that's a phenomenal pick. And when you look at the Texans, there was so much pressure on the Texans in the draft because you look at the Texans, they draft 3rd overall. The team who drafts 2nd is the Lions. They have 2 first-round picks. These teams after them, like the Jets and the Giants, they both have 2 first-round picks. So there's so much more pressure on the Texans drafting because they only have 1 first-round pick. Some of these other teams behind them and in front of them, since they have 2, they don't have as much pressure because if one doesn't work out, they can, maybe the other one might work out. But with the Texans, since they don't have many picks compared to these other teams who are kind of picking near the top, they have a lot of pressure on them. So we're able to pick up Akeem Ikwanu, the offensive tackle from North Carolina State. I know some people might say quarterback right here. I don't think that's the case. Let's say, if there's a scenario where, Desmond Ridder is in the 3rd round, to me, that would kind of intrigue me a little bit. But I think drafting a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round for the Houston Texans right now is really ridiculous because when you look at Davis Mills, the Houston Texans have a horrible offensive line. They don't have any weapons, and he was still able to be the best street quarterback this past season. That's very, very impressive, in my opinion. So looking at some of these players here, Christian Harris, the linebacker from Alabama, really stands out to me. They could really use help, really at pretty much just about every position. Let's see, the guys we were able to sign in free agency we were able to re-sign Tyrod Taylor and Justin Reed. The only positions we were able to attack in free agency were wide receiver twice, edge, and corner. So I think defensive tackle is up there, maybe. Safeties also up there. I know we already signed Justin Reed, but you cannot have too many good safeties. Linebacker is certainly up there. The fact that linebacker is up there, I'm going to go ahead and take Christian Harris, the linebacker from Alabama. I think that's a good pick. And with Lovie Smith being more defensive-minded coach, I think that worked well for the Houston Texans, really helping their defense by getting Christian Harris, Charles Harris, and Kyle Fuller, and also retaining Justin Reed. So as we see here, the Houston Texans, they have 2 third-round picks. And I mentioned, let's see here, if Desmond Ridder was available in the 3rd, it would have intrigued me a little bit, but I would still be kind of hesitant to take him. But he's not available, so we do not have to deal with that scenario here. And looking at this Texans team, there's just so many holes for this Texans team, honestly. Nick Benito kind of intrigues me a little bit. He's very underrated in my opinion. I wouldn't be opposed to drafting him here. Let's see who else there is. Haskell Garrett, I know he's ranked 114th, but that kind of surprises me. I don't understand why he's so low here. Some of these other guys, Kobe Bryant, the corner from Cincinnati University. So in the first 2 picks, in our 1st and 2nd round pick, we were able to get Akeem Ikwanu, the offensive tackle from NC State, and also Christian Harris, the linebacker from Alabama University. I want to go Kobe Bryant here. I like that pick. I would say he's probably the best corner available. I think it's a good value pick here. So as we see here, they have 1 final pick remaining in this 3-round mock draft. They have 2 third-round picks. Excuse me. Let's see here. John Mechie, let's see here, Justin Ross, Wan'Dale Robinson, those guys are very, very good, and I'm kind of surprised these guys are still available with the 80th pick overall. I know we were able to get John Brown, but honestly, I feel like he could be one of those guys who might not even make the team, or maybe they trade him mid-season like we've seen this past year. Cedric Wilson, I think, would be a big part of this Texans team, but you can never have too many good receivers. They kind of lacked that this past season. I'm going to take Wan'Dale Robinson, the wide receiver from Kentucky. I think he's very underrated. I'm surprised he dropped that far. And honestly, by the draft time happens, I wouldn't be surprised if he inches his way close towards the end of the second round. So when you look at this 3-round mock draft here from Pro Football Network, we were able to get Akeem Ikwonu, Christian Harris, Kobe Bryant, and also we were able to get Wan'Dale Robinson, the wide receiver from Kentucky University. And I feel like this team is pretty good, honestly. Like this draft was good. The signings, it sucks that not many people wanted to sign with Houston. I also feel like, it's one of those things. There's not going to be a ton of people who want to play for the Houston Texans because they don't have many star players, and they're probably not going to be good for the first year or two under Lovie Smith. So, looking at this Houston Texans team, what the players we were able to acquire in the offseason with free agency and in the NFL draft, we want to take a look and see how many wins this Texans team can end up getting in the 2022 season. So looking at this Texans team, let's look at the first 4 teams here. You have Washington, the Cowboys, Broncos, and Colts. I think they can win one of those games, possibly 2. I'm not really sure. I'll take my chances with one of these first 4 games. And then we have the Jaguars, Titans, Chiefs, and Chargers. I'm going to take one again because I think they're capable of being the Jaguars, and I also think they're capable of upsetting the Titans. So let's also see. So far that's 2. Let's also see here the Eagles, Colts, Jaguars, and Raiders. I'm going to say 2 here. With the Eagles, Colts, Jaguars, and Raiders, I think they're capable of beating any 4 of those teams. So as of right now, that's 4 wins in the season for the Houston Texans. And to close out, we had the Giants, Titans, Bears, Browns, and Dolphins. I'm going to say 2 out of those 5 games I think the Texans will end up winning. So that is 6 wins on the season for the Houston Texans. Not bad at all for a first-year head coach in Lovie Smith, with a lot of new players coming from the draft and, free agency as well. And, that really about does it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really, really appreciate it. And I will see you all next time on the Sports Dude Hines Show.